like to start off with introducing our speaker tonight, our guest. Jennifer Voon is the Director of Industry and Services in UTB. She also teaches IT and ethics. So, there is two very different subjects to be teaching. So I thought that's very interesting. And Jennifer has been in a teaching career for over 22 years. And her previous life includes being a programmer, a computer manager, and also a chief information officer. So she was, in her capacity in the old life, she helped to build ICT infrastructure and was involved in IT-related project management that impact the life of the Brunei citizen. So that in a nutshell is who Jennifer Voon is. Jennifer, welcome and thank you so much for coming to our show tonight.
Thank you for inviting me. Just to let you know, ethics and computer are actually not that far different because we use a lot of data, we use a lot of information. You use it wrongly, you can see what will happen. So it's actually very integrated, and it was a topic I freshly took up, and it's interesting. But yeah, thank you for welcoming me here. And I've been teaching. If you read my resume,
yes,
basically my whole life is a life of accident. I accidentally fall into teaching as well, and I never left. It was one of those jobs and professions that I actually stayed. Yeah. So surprisingly enough, I actually started off as a kindergarten school teacher before I went to university for a period of like 2 months. And that didn't do me any any keenness to want to jump into teaching then from a kindergarten. That changed later.
That's interesting. So in your resume, as we spoke about resume, you were talking about once you got a taste of the teaching career, you never look back, Jennifer.
Yeah, that's true. I started off when I worked immediately as a programmer in a teaching academic environment. So my first exposure to teaching was to see what the lecturers were doing and, how they talk to the students, how they mentor the students, etc. What struck me, of course, was their patience. You got people that ask you like 2-year-old questions, like, why is this, why is that, etc. A normal person would get like really irritated, etc. So that struck me that the lecturers that I was seeing them was really patient and really different, and that was make me curious, right? Yeah. And then what happened is that I was doing my job normally, etc. There was a spot open for a lecturer. Basically, it's not really a post yet, but the guy who was working in a job, the lecturer, his contract finishes. So there was like, they come out and ask me, say, would you like to take a class? Okay, it started off with a class. I say, yeah, sure, why not? That class turned into many classes. And here I am, never stop. And I just thought teaching was really, something that I wanted to do.
So it sounds like you found your love at second sight.
But I enjoyed my other life as project manager as well. And I think that prepared me well for teaching in a way.
How long were you in your previous life, before being a teacher?
Yeah, you see, I was actually doing things concurrently. Because I was a project manager working in a university, setting up the infrastructure. Right. So it was quite a natural transition. They said that, hey, we want somebody to teach in IT, and since you're working in IT, perhaps you don't mind teaching. And at that point, I thought they make an error, because what do I know about teaching? I thought, like they make an error, here's a programmer, and a project manager, and, they asked me to take a class. And I said, yeah, why not? No fear, jump right in. I don't regret it at all, because my motto in life is you don't know until you try. So just try, And so if you like it, then stay. If you don't like it, try another thing,
How is it? We all You know, Jennifer, my ambition, even up until today, this is an ambition that I have after becoming an adult and in the later years of my life, which is,
Mhm.
you know, right now, you know, I have such a big admiration for teachers. And I always imagine and dream about, you know, what would it be like to be a teacher? So it's something that I fantasize about amongst many other things.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Um, so one of the things that I thought, and the romantic notion is, you know, you can speak in front of an audience for 2 hours, and which is really fun. But I know that there's way more than just that 2 hours that a lot of people don't see in the teaching career.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
So is it more than just the 2 hours of talking, or is there more? Can
Yeah.
you give us an insight of what, you know, the life of a teacher looks like?
Yeah. Well, basically, anybody who likes to talk can make a teacher in the first place. And
So that's a prerequisite.
yeah, yeah. And then, you know, if you're shy about talking, then it's going to be an issue. So if you like talking, you like meeting people, and you know, you don't mind sharing what you know, etc. And that's the most important thing about being a teacher.
So it's not a
Uh,
job for an introvert.
um, I do not know. I think some of my colleagues are actually introverts, and they have been teaching as long as I have. But because they are introverts, their focus was on, they're very knowledgeable in their area, in where they teach. So in a way, you get all sorts of lecturers who are introverts, yet they are able to teach when they go in front of class, when they're talking about their subject matter.
Mhm.
But most teachers, most lecturers I know are on the other side of the spectrum. They like to talk, they're not shy about talking, and they jump right in, etc.
Which is why you're
Um,
such a natural tonight.
yeah,
No
so
effort.
yeah, you know, so that was what happened. And but believe me, in the university where I'm working, we have a lot of scientists who are lecturers, and a lot of the scientists do belong to the spectrum of being quite shy as well.
Mhm.
But put them in front of a class, they're still shy, but get them talking about the subject matter, things disappear because they're passionate about the subject matter. For me, my path towards a teaching degree, teaching career is quite different from my colleagues, in the sense that I accidentally jumped into teaching. I was doing industry work, you know, and found out that I like teaching, and found out that I had a lot of teaching things to learn, because it's
Uh-huh.
not something that you can do correctly the first time round.
Mhm.
So as I jump in, I learn what teaching is. I learn the psychology of teaching and how to communicate with students. Believe me, I make a lot of mistakes along the way. But you clear the mistakes, you know, you go in there. Like I'm looking at Karina's face right now, and I noticed that she smiled. And that's like part of what we lecturers do, look at people's face and able to identify how the person is feeling and jump right in and communicate with people. Like Karina is smiling now. So that sort of thing that we connect with. And we tried. So it became quite natural for me, you know, that
Uh-huh.
learning process. But at the end of the day, for me, teaching was like the aha moment. What motivates me to teach is that when I look at a student, and if I get so much into the lada about programming, you know, the students' eyes tend to glaze over and say, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yes.
So backtrack, I would say, slow down, look at how the student's face is looking and how I'm meeting the face, and surely they don't understand. And that was the turning point for me, looking in their face, you know, practice a lot of patience, and then try to explain it another way, find a way to reach a student. And when I see that light in the eyes that says, you know, that what I call the aha moment, okay, that makes it worthwhile. And I live for those aha moments even today.
And would it be fair to say that from what I've just learned,
Mhm.
what you think about the teaching career is often very different when you go into it and practice it?
Yes, the The thing is that about teaching, when people think about teaching, there are several types of teaching, several levels, if you like. You could go in and say, I want to be a teaching for the under 10 years old, the primary level, or I want to be a secondary school teacher teaching about science, or I want to be a university lecturer covering new grounds, doing research and finding new things and working with the students at that level. So when you go into the teaching field, I think basically you might have an idea what level you are targeting for. So if you are targeting a certain level, you prepare yourself for that level. My experience, of course, is coming from the teaching the university level. That means at the university level, you start off first, you go through your master's, you go through your PhD, and then from there, you kind of discover new things, cover new grounds, and then go for it. Okay, but what I also like is actually teaching, believe it or not, at the 9 to 10 years old. And I have conducted some workshops for 9 to 10 years old to learn programming. 3 or 4 times now at the Brunei national level. And bringing in the tools, etc., and working with them, how curious they are, and get them to learn programming. In a nutshell, over 5 days to learn programming. So coming from the spectrum, in order for us to teach that, we also need to know how to communicate with the people at that level, communicate with people, not so much at that level, but communicate with 9-year-olds whose mind is so active and whose mind is so ready to learn, and that I'm almost 60 years old, you really have to get your mind down to that level and be that 9-year-old that is buried inside all of us to try and communicate with them and get them to learn. And that was actually one of my best experience in my teaching career. So I brought that back to the university. I brought that then to my adult students and go from there.
Jennifer, what I noticed from our conversation is you have an exuberant energy to you that is, so youthful and just so energetic and full of life. And I can't help but think that, you must have rubbed it off from the students.
Well, I think I have bad review and good review. Students learn differently. Some students like their quiet space, and if you have a loud lecturer like me, speaking at on and on, student, for sure that students will eventually shut down and cut off and, won't want to talk to you, and then you just have to leave it be. And then there are some, of course, who jump in like me and, challenge you and as loud as you can be. And, those are not necessarily the best or the worst, but that's the way the students are, their character, the natural character come in. And so you jump right in and be as loud as them.
And that's what makes it really interesting. Right?
you use any way that allows a student to learn. And believe me, I have both good review and bad review. The bad is as good as the good, and the good is as good as the bad.
What's interesting about just the first 5 minutes of talking to you, the energy. I feel like I'm talking to a teenager. It's absolutely a compliment.
Oh, thank you. You're talking to an almost 60-year-old woman, so I guess I look at it as a compliment.
you are as youthful, if not more youthful than me, who is 2 decades behind you.
I don't know, but